Hello, welcome back to Midlife Unfiltered. I am Donna, and this is Nicola.
Welcome, everybody. So today we have the honor to sit down with Dr. Carla Caturia. She is an elite mental performance coach and creator of the RISE framework, helping tweens and teens and young adults and their families build confidence, emotional resilience, and self-trust. Drawing from more than 20 years of education and coaching over 10,000 students and families, she helps young people perform at a high level without trying their worth to achievement. Today, she's here to share how parents can raise resilient, emotional, and healthy young adults. Welcome, Dr. Carla. How are you doing today?
Great. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you. I'm ready to take notes.
Oh, me too. No.
Welcome. So why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself and how you got to where you are today? What got you into this field?
Yeah, absolutely. I like to say that at 40, I'm now over 40, but in my 40s, I'd become the person I needed at 14. And so I think the journey started at being a teenager who had everything going on the outside. I did dance, I did sports, got good grades, but underneath that, I was really challenged emotionally and didn't have the skills or the strategies to manage my emotions. So I kind of just let them take over. And that followed me into my 20s and 30s, into my marriage, into my career. And so as an administrator, I was a teacher, assistant principal, a college professor at middle school, high school level. So I had 20 years of experience. I'm like doing all the things, yet just recently, say in the last 5 to 10 years, have learned how to like really live my authentic self, not as much pressure, anxiety, overwhelm, and really, I call it like success with self. So I was very successful without self. I was super successful on the outside most of my life, but just wasn't really being true to myself. And now I've learned a way to really be successful, be who I am, be grounded. And that's why what I do with families is I pass that on to them and teach them ways to interact more strongly, as well as have their teens and tweens really become more confident and live their lives to their full potential.
I love that. I think, especially this day and age, the teens and the tweens really, really, really need that. I sometimes a little scared for them just because of where the world is going to, and then just being lost out there. So I am so glad that you're doing that, because I've got 4 kids, but 2 of them are still in the house, 2 of them are in college, and it's like, I talk to them every day and we have conversations. I'm like, how can I help you? How are you feeling? Where are we going from here? What do you want to do? And it's definitely, yes, I'm definitely taking notes like Donna is.
Yeah. It's definitely a different world out there. They have many different challenges than we might have had growing up. And with that being said, they have the same emotional makeup that we all did. So it's how do I navigate those new challenges as well as support them through what they really need internally as well? Absolutely. Yes.
So what lesson would you tell a teenager or a tween that might be going through what you went through when you were younger and you realized you need to work on yourself? What would you?
Yeah, I think the first thing I would say is there's nothing wrong with you. So I think there's a big stigma around reaching out for support. I don't need it. I'm not broken. I don't need to be fixed. And oftentimes when I talk to parents, that's what their kids are telling them. So I don't know that I would have been open to any kind of support.
Right.
So one, it's okay to reach out. It's normal. Like nobody's born with knowing how to handle big emotions. So it's a skill, just like you learn how to read and write and all the other things. So if you haven't learned it as a child growing up and you maybe need for outside support doing that, that's okay. It's just like every sporting event, there's a coach on the sidelines for the team. Have you ever seen a football team or a soccer team without a coach? Right. So I think my lesson to them would be to just be open to it. It's not fixing you. It's just helping you to improve, who you are already.
Yeah, you were just saying, you just talked about big emotions. I feel like maybe when I was younger, we weren't taught how to deal with our emotions. I think we were just kind of had to like just go through the motions and figure it out ourselves. And I think now, like my older son, I think he a lot of the time handles his emotions where he can speak about it and ask me like, what do I do? What should I do? Were things I would never have, I would have just figured it out myself when I was younger.
Yeah, I think, you're going to have those emotions, they're going to come through. And I think the goal is learning your patterns. So what's triggering me? Why is it triggering me? What are my thoughts? How are my thoughts triggering what I'm feeling? And having your emotions not run your life. That knowing that you can you're in control of them, and the stories that your mind is telling you aren't always true. So when a big emotion comes, it's a signal, like, and you have to use that to determine, how you're going to handle the situation versus just falling apart. So yeah, learning your patterns, and it's great if he is able to speak to you about it. You're validating him. You're like, yeah, absolutely. I hear you. That sucks, or that's wonderful, or, just validating
Yeah.
him.
Yeah, for sure.
That's step one. After then he keeps sharing with you, keeps sharing with you, keeps sharing with you. So that's
Yep.
fantastic.
Yep.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I wasn't a sharer when I was young. I kept everything in because I felt like I wasn't supposed to say. So I'm glad that that he feels comfortable with, like, tell me, I'll help you. Let's do, I'll guide you
Yeah.
through it.
Yeah.
You
Having
know?
the conversation and having the open communication, that's the key. That's the key.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it really is. So let's talk a little bit about your RISE framework that you've created.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. So RISE framework stands for resiliency, identity, self-confidence, and emotional intelligence. So I kind of came up with that because, we always start with emotional intelligence and regulating emotions, managing them, handling them, learning strategies. And once kids are able to do that to a consistent level, then we work on, doing hard things, building resiliency. As they do hard things, they build confidence. And then step by step, they build their new identity and step fully into that. So I think it starts with the emotions, then it becomes, the action steps that they take, and then they step into that new identity over time. And it's that transformation that's just so rewarding and so exciting for me and for them, really. That makes it all worthwhile. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So as I'm not a teacher, but you were. So they always say that teachers obviously during the school year see the students more than parents see them.
Hmm.
What would you tell a teacher or maybe a guidance counselor that might have a student that's going through what kind of like what you want to help the child go through what we're just talking about? What would you tell them? How would you help to help this child? Because a lot of I know they get children that have so many different issues, and some of them don't even are perfectly fine. But you have that one or two that they can just hone in on and go, I need to work with that kid, but how? What would you and how would you guide them to do this?
Yeah, I think it starts with first regulating themselves, because
Okay.
being a teacher, having 30 something kids, you're trying to teach science, but then this kid's yelling, this kid's crying, like all these things are happening. So
Right.
I think for being a teacher and a principal for so many years, it was taking care of yourself first. Like, and then I say the same thing to parents, even though it's difficult, like that's the step, because if you don't show up as your best self, how can you
Hmm.
support? And I
Right.
Right.
think, as we stated earlier, just listening to them, validating them. Sometimes the kids would come to me or other teachers after class and they just want to be heard. It might not even be the case of fixing something for them. So I think oftentimes we want to fix it like that, but it's just letting them be heard
Yeah.
and really seeing them in that next identity. So it's not putting pressure on them. It's not, you can't give them motivation, but it's really seeing them as their best self and their next self. So that identity, it drives their behavior versus just pushing them. And I think the more teachers can listen to them, the more they can help them to build autonomy. So again, instead of doing the things for them, like kind of leading with curiosity. So when they're sharing with you or when they're talking to you or when they need support, hey, I'm just curious, how come you made that decision? Or, whatever
Yeah.
they might be going through. And that'll help them build their confidence versus kind of trying to control, and that kind of destroys it. So, and as a teacher, it's I would also specifically say, like, maybe there's a time and a place for it, because it's private and it's difficult to handle all the things. So maybe there's some sort of structure you can put within your classroom or within your lesson that allows for that time for kids, because now you're not just a teacher of science or of math. You're much more. And regulating yourself and then listening to your kids is really paramount.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're a
Yeah.
mentor. I mean, is really what it comes down to.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
what you just said because I just clicked in my head. I completely forgot about this. My older daughter, when she was in middle school, she's in college now, and I don't remember what teacher it was. It may have been her English teacher or whatever, but she had the kids write a poem. Now, I don't remember what the poem was about, or maybe it was a story. I do believe it was a poem. Anyways, the girl wrote her poem out. Then they all had to go read it out loud, and she read it out loud. And basically, the girl opened herself up, got very vulnerable, and was talking about how her home life, she was abused. She just, I don't remember the story. It's obviously been like almost 10, 12 years ago, just talked about how she was abused. And afterwards, my daughter had said that because she came home and told me, and I was like, do you realize what she just did? And she's like, no, I think my daughter was in sixth grade. And I was like, she just opened up, got very vulnerable, asking for help in a way that she felt comfortable to do it. And I said, so what happened? She goes, oh, well, Mrs. So-and-so asked her to stay after while the rest of us went to class. And I said, because that teacher was now going to help her.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I just remember, I totally forgot that even the minute that you brought it, clicked in my brain. I'm like, oh yeah. She said, teacher found a way to get the kids to talk, but she probably wasn't even a thought process when she did it, and got this one particular trust in this child to put her feelings out for the whole class to hear.
Yeah, and it only takes like that one adult. Like that's what I always did as a principal. That one adult. Is it the PE teacher? Is it the guidance counselor? It doesn't matter who it is. That one adult that everyone, every kid can have one adult, excuse me, that they can feel comfortable with.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I know the teachers probably are not specifically trying to get the kids to share those things yet. Super important to always, report that. And I don't mean that but getting her extra support outside of.
Yeah.
In a lot of times kids have it, a lot of times kids don't. So really happy that she made that decision to
Yeah.
give her extra time.
I was too. I don't think, I'm trying to think back. I don't think the teacher, that was her thought process to do that. I think it was actually part of the class, assignment to do. And this girl took that opportunity to go, okay, well, here we go. And that's what
Yep.
she did. So,
And that's why you never know, like you knowing your own kids as a parent or you being a teacher. And you don't know if like it's going to be a poem, it's going to be a song, it's going to be sitting in the car and talking. You don't know what's going to open them up. So it's good to get to know them well. That's super important. So great story. Yeah. And I'm glad.
I have a question, and I don't know if you have an answer, but you said before, like you want the student to find their best self.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What steps could a teacher or a counselor go through to pull out I don't even know. I don't want to say the best things, but like what could they go through? What could they do to help the child find their best self?
Well, I think that's what I do. That's coaching. So you would coach them through it. I think you have to first help them, bring them awareness of the fact that the pressure, the anxiety, the overwhelm that they're putting on themselves, like it doesn't have to be there. That doesn't, because I think a lot of high achieving kids or athletes or performers, it's their achievement becomes their identity. And then
Right. Yeah.
their true self is underneath all of that. It's about the award or it's about the grade. And I think, they've learned that like, there's a test coming up, I get stressed. I need to get an A, there's stress. Like that's how our society, how it is. And I think it's helping the kids to let go of that to an extent. We still want them to care and achieve and do well. Yet can I do it in a way where like I'm 90% good on that test? I've studied as much as I could, and I'm going to put the book down and I'm going to go to sleep now and take care of myself, so helping them find that balance. And I think, teachers can do that. They can structure their lessons. They can help them with study skills. They can do it through ways, but it's also just the questions and how they ask them the questions throughout the classroom. I think there's a lot of inquiry-based classroom questions. There's coaching questions, and I always help teachers with the questions because that's their avenue really in most respects. And then really, if it's too much for the classroom and the kid, like you said earlier, the kid just can't, it's too much, then they need to help them with outside support or stay after school or whatever it might be. But I think it's the questioning, and it's really getting to know the kids and helping them to see that their life can be led in a different way. But I know from myself, when I was a teacher, I was super stressed and anxious all the time. So you're just projecting that on them, just like a lot of parents are stressed and anxious all the time.
Right.
So it's a combo of all of those things. Yeah.
I love what you said because my husband always tells our kids, he goes, I don't care if you get an A, a B, a C, or an F. He goes, that to me is a letter. He goes, I want you to understand what you're learning. He goes, if I sit here or if the teacher sits here, whoever it is, and talks and tells you, and you don't go, hey, I don't understand, but you're stressing over getting that A. He goes, but you get the A because you remembered it at that moment. But in 3 weeks from now, are you going to remember it? Then, we need to sit down and. So he tells them, he's like, don't stress over. He goes, if it takes me 700 times to teach you what a Pythagorean theorem is, he goes, then I'll do it. I don't care. He goes, I want you to fully understand. And he goes, I don't want you to stress over it. And so that's what we do in my house. We just let them go. If you don't understand, let us know and we'll sit down and we'll do it again until you get it.
Yeah, it's all about mastery. So, a really great teacher or parent, once the test happens, there's, you can do a retake or you can correct your answers. And that's partially motivation for the kids to get more points. But
Right.
the real point is that even if you missed 5 questions on that test, after the test, you understood it because we're going to need to learn that for the next unit. And so the mastery.
Yeah.
And I also think to your point, an additional thing there is the effort. Like if you got a C and I saw you studying every single night for this test and you still got a C, that was the best you could do. I'm going to praise you for your effort and saying like, hey, I saw you all week, busting it over there, like good for you. I'm sorry you didn't get the outcome you were looking for. Let's reflect on what you can do different next time. Yet, not chastising them because they got the C instead of the A. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's true. I remember there was I think, cause I don't remember what the test is called, but in the county that I live in, or even maybe it's just the state, there's a test that the kids have to do. And basically it gives what they call the teachers, how the teachers are, teaching the students is basically like a teacher grade. And one of the teachers one year looked at the kids and she's like, I know what you're capable of doing. I know you all get this. And she said, this isn't a grade that you need to worry about. This is to grade me, but I don't want you to be stressed that you're going to give me a bad grade. She goes, you just go in, do what you need to do, just have fun, and let's just do it. And I just remember going, I don't remember who the teacher was or which child it was, but I just was like, I love you for that. Thank you so much. Because so many kids always get so stressed. And she's just like, it grades me. She goes, I know what you're capable of and I know what I'm capable of. So let's just go in and just do it.
Yeah, and just taking the pressure off of them and it all being about, like I already know, like giving them, like letting them borrow her confidence. Like I already know what you can do, and if you're feeling stressed, don't worry. I already know what you can do. So it's okay. Yeah, absolutely.
So if you had a parent come to you, I'm assuming you probably do, and they're just at their wit's end because they don't know what to do with their child. They know they need to help their child, but their child is kind of closed in. What advice would you give to the parents so that they can go back and help the child?
Yeah, I mean, that's a kind of a broad question. Depends upon the situation. Right. I think sometimes if like you said, if the kid is closed down, it's trying to figure out like if that's the getting them to open up is the problem. I mean, then I think it's really, like where did that trust break in our relationship? What kind of digging down to what happened? I remember I had a daughter and a mom I was working with, and she was getting bad grades. She was smart, but she just was like having so much resistance around school. And we sat down together a couple times on Zoom. And what came out with her daughter was that, I don't know, years before her mom said something to her in the kitchen about her grades and it hit her in a certain way. And she kind of like internalized that for I don't know, she was maybe in 6th grade. So since 3rd grade or something like that. And the fact that we had that conversation, mom was like, I don't remember that, but thank you for sharing. And now they could work on that. Now she knew what was kind of creating the resistance. So oftentimes we don't know what's going on with the kid. We just think like, oh, they're teenagers, they're being stubborn. Like, no, like something happened. It wasn't necessarily having to be that the parent did something. It's just they interpreted something some way at some point in their life. And now they're holding that in. So it might take time to open that up. It might take, different supports and different strategies. Yet I think the key is to try to, in order to get them to open up, parents oftentimes have to be vulnerable and open up themselves.
Yeah.
With their kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
yeah, it's very true. I mean, my kids come home and I'm blessed that I have a good relationship with my children. So they can walk in the
Yeah.
door to be like, how you doing? They'll be like, great. I'm like, great. I can tell, or they'll say they had a great day. And I can like, you are so lying to me. Let's talk. And
Right.
they'd be like, no, no, no. I'm like, okay, I'll give them their 10 or 15 minutes or whatever it is to calm down, do whatever they want to do. And then it'll be like, okay, I know something happened. I'm your mom. Talk to me. What can we do? Like, help me out. I can't, I'm like, I can't help you if you don't tell me what's going on. And
Mm-hmm.
they're like, okay, and it might take them an hour or two or whatever it is, but then they'll be like, okay, this is what happened. I'm like, thank you so much. And now we can work on it. So
Yeah. And
I've been
I
blessed,
think,
but
yeah. No, the key there is what you said is like, I gave them their space and their time. Like you knew right away, like, okay,
oh
maybe
yeah,
they're not ready to share right now. We'll talk
yeah.
about it in an hour. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's one thing I am definitely blessed with that they're willing to talk to me because I know there's so many parents out there whose kids won't, and I can't imagine what that's like to be so frustrated, like you want to yell at them, like tell me now, but if you yell at them, it's just going to make it worse, and then they're really going to shut down, and then you've just made it 1,000 times worse. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. That can definitely be a struggle. So yeah,
yeah.
always the best thing you can do is keep those lines of communication open.
So
Yeah.
I have a question for you. If you could teach one parent one skill that they could have the greatest impact on their child's future and success, what would that be?
I think one of the things I often see is parents, whether it be their kid is playing tennis and right after tennis, they tell them all the things that they kind of should adjust or should do differently. Or a kid is in a relationship with another, they have two girls are friends and then there's a problem with the friend and they parents want to step in or I'm going to call their parents and do all this. Or I think allowing your kid the autonomy and giving them the skills to kind of problem solve and figure things out on themselves,
Hmm.
as well as saying, I'm here for you when you need me, but allowing them to, don't give them the lecture after the tennis match. Let them kind of process it, give them some space, ask them, hey, are you open to some feedback? I saw some really awesome things you did, and I'd like to give you some feedback on what I saw. Or, letting them self advocate at school instead of like emailing the teachers like crazy, let them figure it out. So I think giving them the gift of time to problem solve, and if
Hmm.
they don't know how to do it, giving them the guidelines on how you should send the email or talk to the teacher. But I think a lot of times we say like, oh, these teenagers are like, they can't do anything for themselves. They have an iPhone, they have this. Well, then maybe we need to stop doing everything for them.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
there's a piece there where it's okay for them to fail. It's okay for them to struggle. I was speaking to parents this morning. They're like, we purposefully have our kids in these certain sports because we want them to fail. We want them to safe fail. Like if they fail at a sport, it's not the end of the world. They're not going to
Hmm.
die. It's going to learn, they're going to learn the lesson. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a guy on social media, and I can't remember what it is now, but he's like upstate New York. I was sharing Donna the other day about it. And he has a little convenience store. And when the kids come in, they would get like good grades on their report card. He would show it to them. And if he could show that they went from, they're able to keep their grades or they had a bad grade and they went to a good grade, he gives them, they're allowed to go into the little store that he has and they can get snacks and food, and some of them get laundry detergent, things for the house. But I see it like this, it's a way to, encourage the children. Obviously, we don't see everything that he records, I'm sure he probably, like, what, he encourages them. Yeah, you did good here, but you need to bring it up. And these kids they come in so excited to tell him that they've done so well, or, oh my gosh, I had a B and now I have an A. And he looks at those and he just like hypes them up. He's like, oh my gosh, everybody look. Obviously, he covers up their personal information, but he just shows like, this is where they were. This is where they are now. And he's like, you know what? Congratulations. Good job. He's like, you can go and get it now. And I don't remember his name, but I mean, I'm sure people can Google it. And yeah. So he's one that's definitely
It's a
changing
great
and
story.
encouraging the younger generation to do better.
Yeah. Cause he's focusing on their progress, not the
Yep.
outcome.
Yep.
So you brought the C to a B, it's that progress and the effort you put in versus
Yep.
like just rewarding the kids that get straight A's.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
So one more question for you that, because that's been sitting in my mind.
Yeah.
Today, the younger generation, a lot of them are in college or they're going to be going into college, and some of them don't want to go to college, and that's perfectly fine. So they're going to get thrust out into this world, which can be very scary. And for so long, they've been basically protected, whether, at home, and they're in college, and college, they're kind of out in the real world, but not necessarily out there because they still have a structure. What would you tell them? Because a lot of them that are about to graduate or even graduate high school are about to get thrust out there, and they have to learn to speak up, to help themselves and to protect themselves. And a lot of them don't know how. They just keep it inside.
Yeah, I think that comes with that piece of, when they're in sixth grade, seventh grade, eighth grade, of allowing them to like maybe call the doctor's office and make the appointment, or,
Right.
Right.
I know a lot of kids that when I was with seniors in high school, they would go to college and they would come back after the first semester and they would end up moving back home, and they didn't know how to do their laundry or handle anything. So I think
Right.
I would say to parents, as I said before, allow them to do things and fail and take responsibility and have chores. And yes, it's sometimes a fight, but it's worth it in the long run, because now you have this person that's completely dependent upon you. But I would also say for parents, be careful about, well, what is it that makes you feel you want them to be dependent on you? Because there's something inside of you that's doing that. But I would say to them, I mean, it's never too late to learn. So just because you haven't learned that skill and you're 22 doesn't mean you can't.
Right.
So they would have to do the things, like have the courage, and, whether they need to have an accountability buddy about whatever's making them nervous, about if it's going to an interview, or it's, they have to have, it'd be nice to have someone in their boat that's a peer, because yeah, it can be scary. I have this degree. I don't know what I'm going to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I also don't know how to like self advocate. So what do I do? And I think it's being gentle with themselves, but also they have to push themselves, because nobody really is going to do it for them in the workplace. Like they have to do it themselves. But I think those skills need to be learned much sooner than 22, but it isn't too late.
Mm.
So who's doing that for them still in college? And that person has to kind of check themselves, whether it's mom, dad, or whomever. So yeah.
Yeah. It's all the phone calls. I need help. I can't do this. I can't do that. I don't know what to do.
Right.
And
And you can still,
you want
go
to say,
ahead.
listen the first time when I taught you.
Yeah. Yeah. I
It's
mean, and you can still answer the phone, but you got to put it back on them. You got to put it back on them.
Yeah.
And if something falls through the cracks, then that's their natural consequence. They need the natural consequence of it, versus the, like, I've saved you for the millionth time on whatever thing it might be.
Yeah. Yeah. And if they've never suffered through a consequence, then they're just not going to know
Right.
yeah.
Right.
what it comes
Right.
down to.
Exactly. I mean, it's like having Apple Pay. It's kind of dangerous, because it's like, where is this money coming from? How it's just yeah, it's having the, like, okay, I have nothing left in my account because I spent everything that I worked for, kind of thing. They have to feel that. Yeah.
It, it's interesting. You were just talking about, they're in college and they're going to get a degree. What are they going to do? Because Dawn and I were just talking about this prior to you joining us. That I was watching a couple of YouTube videos where there are some people that have graduated college with a degree and they can't get a job in the degree that they went to school for. And now they're having to figure out what to do, get a completely different job. And basically in their mind, they're starting over, but now they're stressing and they don't know what to do
Mm-hmm.
because, this world is changing. AI is taking over. And I think a lot of children are relying on it. And we tell our kids, don't rely on it. You can use it. You can look at it. For example, my oldest son last year, he wrote something. He's like, Mom, how does this sound? And I was like, why don't you take it? I'm like, it sounded great. It was good. I'm like, why don't you take it, put it into ChatGPT, see what it says, but don't copy what it says because that's not right. So he put it in there and he read what it had to say. And he's like, oh yeah. So then he liked his version better than what ChatGPT said. And I was like, okay, well, what do you want to do? He's like, I'm going to keep my version, but I want to add a couple words. He's like, is that okay? And I was like, yes, but don't ever rely on this. And he's like, okay. But it just, by me having to do that, I was trying to find a way to boost his confidence because I knew what he did was good, but I wanted him to see that so many kids rely on that and he shouldn't be doing that. But he added a couple words. I let him add a couple words. It was literally like
Mm-hmm.
2 or 3.
Yeah.
Just like,
Well, I mean, there's nothing wrong with AI. It's a tool.
Mhm.
It's just
Yeah.
so it doesn't replace you, but it can,
right.
help you with the sentence or,
Yeah.
so using it as a tool and
Yeah.
teaching kids how to use it as a tool is what
Yeah.
we want.
Yeah, no,
Absolutely.
that's what he did. He just basically liked a couple words out of a different the sentence that they had added to what he did, and then he spiced it up a little bit. So I let him
Hmm.
do that, but I always tell him, like, you have to think for yourself. You have to do this for yourself. And it's like, remember, I was like my husband always tells my kids, we're not going to be there for you. He's like, or he'll say, one day I will die, your mom will die. You're going to be on your own. You can't always rely on us. He goes, we're here to help you. We're here to guide you. We're here to train you. And then you're on your own.
Yeah.
That's what we
Hmm.
tell them. So,
Yeah. And it sounds like you're backing up what you say with your actions. And
mhm,
that's the key. Because
yes.
a lot of parents will like, have these threats of like, well, I'm not going to be here anymore and then do everything. But you're like, I'm not going to be here anymore. And here's how you handle this. Go ahead and handle it.
Yeah.
That's that your actions have to back
Learning.
that up.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. No,
Hmm.
yeah. So yeah, they learn, like my oldest daughter she wants to go to become a dentist. And my husband's like, I can't afford dental school. He goes like, I can help you pay for your biology major. He goes, but after that, he goes, I can't afford that because, got other kids, that we have to help get through school. And so she's like, okay. And so she's like, I know that, dad always would be there for me, but at the same time, we're trying to set her up, so she can be successful and think about how she's going to do this and how she's going to do that. Is this what you want to be? Is that what you want to be? How are you going to fix this? How are you going to achieve those goals?
Exactly, exactly. And I think, I mean, and her knowing that, like a lot of
Mhm,
kids, there's scholarships, there's many ways that she can make it happen. There's a lot of money
mhm.
that's left on the table that
Yep.
kids don't realize. So,
Yeah,
hmm, hmm, yeah.
for sure. Interesting. My son, my son is a teacher, teaches fifth grade, and he's going back to school right now to get his certificate of to be certified for special needs children.
Hmm.
And he was he was reading he was working on a class now, and he was reading through something last night, and he said, "Oh, look, I'm allowed to use AI." And I said, "You are?" And he said, "Yeah, it says right here, it's not against the rules to use AI."
Hmm.
And I said, "Well, that's interesting." I said, and just what Nick said, I said, "I don't think that should be your answers or you have to use your thoughts
Hmm.
and you have to make sure that you understand the assignment and the materials that are given to you." So I thought that was interesting that they're saying it's okay. And the only thing I can think of is like what your son did, Nick, that just used it to maybe fill in a good sentence or a
Yeah.
few words, because then I don't think that's helping them. I don't think they're learning if you're going to, just kind of pop things in there and go for it.
Hmm. Yeah,
It's
I
not
know.
their work.
Yeah, I think the thought behind it is instead of trying to bucket and say you can't use it, allow it, but then you have to also back that up with showing them how to use it as a valuable resource. So
Yep.
I mean, using AI, if you're writing a paper, you're not going to have it write the paper for you. If you want to have it help you with your bibliography and find sources, that's a faster way for you to find the sources. And then you're going to read the sources yourself.
Right.
So and I mean, I was over the ACE Cambridge program at my school, and ACE Cambridge allows you to use AI. They have principles, they have structure, they have the way that you can use it. So it's not thinking for you, but there's acceptable ways to use it. Yeah. And
Yeah. Yeah. But it's funny. I think I had to explain that to him. Like he was
mhm.
reading it as like, "Oh, wait,
Of
you
course.
can use
Yeah. Like
AI."
I'm just going to run it through. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, no, 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 no. I'm like, reread that and
Yeah.
not really what you're supposed to do.
So
Yeah.
I noticed a lot of kids, because I had kids at the same time. They were in elementary, middle, and high school all at the same time. And I noticed that children often compare themselves with other peers, and it
Mm,
could be good and it could be detrimental all at the same time. What would you tell a child a parent that might be coming to you and said, "Hey, I've noticed that little Johnny over here is comparing himself to his classmates, and I can see that it's not working and it's making him worse because he's not becoming where he wants to be because he's trying to be like them," when we all
Yeah.
know and that can be very hard because a child might want to, the child wants to be up there, but it's not their path. How would you talk to a parent and then delicately talk to the child about that? Because I know that would be gut punch to tell a kid, not to do that.
Well, I mean, I tell them right out, like comparison is a thief of joy. I mean, that's why we work on authentic you. Like, if
Okay.
you have that gut feeling in your stomach that so and so said this to you and didn't really feel good, and then you didn't stand up for yourself or you didn't share what you really thought, that I was just working with a girl on that. She's like, I don't like the way he treats me or talks to me, and I kind of just, laugh and say, kind of like go along with anyways, but afterwards I feel terrible. And I'm like, so then we work on like, like really standing in our power, because when you do that, you give up your power. If you're pleasing someone else or doing this just to be nice, right? And I think the comparison comes in person and on social media. And I remind kids, like, they're only showing you what they want you to see.
Exactly.
So you're not seeing, you're seeing a pretty dress or a nice car or whatever it might be, but you don't see what's underneath that. So I think it's hard for them to not compare themselves, and peers are so important to them. Yet it's working with them to become so strong with their own beliefs and who they are that it doesn't even matter anymore what the other person is doing. That doesn't happen overnight. That's not easy. Yet it's little by little being like, I know how worth it I am. So, but that takes time. That's a lot. It's a lot for kids, but that's the way to go about it. Because, like this might look great, yet you don't see the whole picture. Sometimes, yeah.
I knew a friend of mine, her husband didn't realize this, but he didn't, I don't want to say he didn't realize because he knew what he was doing, but I don't think he realized the full picture. He would often compare his kids to the other child, or he would say, well, no other kids do this. And then, then their children would get really upset or sad because then they're like, they'd be like this. And I remember telling her, I'm like, you have to tell him. And it's no fault of his own. I don't think he realized what he was doing. And I don't think he was raised in a home where maybe they did that. I don't know his story. But I told her, I was like, you have to, in the nicest way, tell him he can't do that. And he can't sit there and go, no other kids that way. Because then I would sit there and go, where's your proof? Where is your proof? You don't have it. You can't do that. I don't know if I was saying the right thing. I think I was, but I know he did stop because they had a huge conversation about it. But I mean, I just remember like, you're putting your kids down. You're not loving them. At least I don't think he was in that way. And again, he loved his children. He loves his kids, but in his mind, I think what he was thinking and how it came out was two different things.
And it's more about meeting them where they're at versus comparing them to where you want them to be. You want to see them where you want them to be. I see you as an A student, or I see you as, yet they're not there yet. So they and that's okay. And I need to meet them where they're at versus the comparison thing. Yeah, that can be really dangerous. And comparing like siblings, look at how she, and that's everyone's individual. Everyone has their own strengths. Everyone has their own things they're working on. And
that's not fair to do that.
Correct.
Yeah, every child is different. Every sibling, like I have 5 siblings, and we are all completely different, all different degrees and different jobs. And you would think, oh, y'all came from the same family? Like, yeah, we did. I promise you did, but we're like literally all over the checkerboard here. I don't know how to help you, but we were never compared. We were just like, one's in the military, one is a farmer, one is a truck driver, one is this, one is that. So it's like, we're different.
Well, and I think, I don't know your parents or what they did, or if they even had consciousness of this, but sounds like in some respect, they kind of supported all of you to find your purpose. If you want to be a farmer, you're a farmer. Like what's going to make you happy on a day to day, not the most money, not that, all of that's important. Don't get me wrong, but it's really what's your purpose. And that's when you earlier were talking about the kids graduating, part of it was they didn't have the skills and the autonomy to do things. But also I think a lot of kids go into certain majors. I'm going to do business. I want to make money. Well, the heck, what? Like, but then you just talked about psychology with me for 10 minutes and how excited you were about a psychology. So why are you in business degree? Like and so it's, instead of, you don't want to say, why are you in this degree? But it's okay. It's kind of working them through, like, what do you want your day to look like on a daily basis? What do you might have monetary goals, but what more importantly, like when you wake up and you have to go somewhere 9 to 5, like, what do you want that to look like for you? So I think it's thinking beyond the degree or what's going to make me the most money into like, what do I really want to do? How do I want to help people? And that's super important for kids like in high school and early college for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting you said that because my older daughter, she wants to be a dentist. And when she was in high school, she's like, I want to be a doctor. I'm like, okay, what kind of a doctor? She's like, I want to be a pediatrician. And I'm like, you want to work with kids from newborn to 18? And she's like, oh, no. And then she's like, okay, I want to do family practice or I want to do this. And so I was not discouraging her, but I was letting her know, I'm like, you need to research what each one of those fields do.
Yeah.
And then and then I said to her, I'm like, I love you, but you're not a chatterbox. So I'm like, these people, you have to talk with every single one of them for 10, 15 minutes every single day. So if you have 20 patients a day, you're talking to them all day. And I'm like, so you really have to think about what you want to do. I'm like, there are fields out there where you can be a doctor and still help people, but not have to talk 10 hours a day. So she ended up choosing to be a dentist.
Yeah, no, it's just like, working her through like, what are your strengths? Okay, this is what it's going to look like. Research it. And I mean, everybody knows what a dentist is, but also in certain respects, have them go and shadow someone. Like,
Yes. She's got over 100 hours of that already.
Correct. So like a lot of kids, when they're trying to figure it out, go ahead, go spend time with different people in whatever, or get an internship. And if you hate your internship, great. That was a few months of learning versus your whole life when you wake up at 40 saying, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah. I think that's why they do with the doctors. I have a friend, she's a neurologist. And when she first started out, they have to do every single one. Like she was an OBG. She did this, she did that. She was in ER because a lot of people, she said, will go in thinking they want to work here. And when they've done the rotation, they're like, yeah, nope, we're going over here to do this field. And so I think that's what why they do that is because you go in thinking
do the same thing. Yeah.
And then you realize, nope, that's not me. And I even got a friend, she's a teacher, and she went in thinking she was going to do math, and now she's an English teacher. She's like, I don't like numbers.
Yeah, I got hired to teach middle school. I would have never, who wakes up and wants to teach middle school? No one. And I was there for like a decade. So, you just don't know, right? You're not going to know you got to do some research, but then you got to take some action and try some things. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Definitely what I would tell young people this day, really do your research. And I always tell my kids' friends, my door is open, even after my kids leave to go to college. And if you go away or you come home, I always say, my door is open. One of my daughters had a friend one day, she was at her house and she opened up and told me about a lot of things. And I was like, okay. She very, in the nicest way, basically told me her parents' car got repossessed and her little sister's car seat was in there and they weren't able to get it because it happened in the middle of the night. And luckily from them, I had a car seat I was no longer using sitting in my basement. So when her mom came to pick her up, I walked out there in the nicest way and I was like, so your daughter was talking to me? And she's like, yes. And I go, don't be mad at her, but she opened up and told me what happened. And her mom started crying. And I was like, I have a car seat if you would like it. She just broke down. And I was like, do you want it? She's like, yes, I'll take it. So walked back in the house and I gave it to her. I'm like, there you go. And had her daughter not trusted me to open up to talk to me, they would have had to go out and spend a couple $100 on a car seat on money clearly they didn't have. So
yeah.
Yep. Great story.
It is.
This was really great, Carla.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
so much. Fun. So where can people find you? Do you have a website, social media pages?
Yeah. I'm primarily on Instagram and Facebook. I have other social media as well. And I have a YouTube page for parents, a lot of information.
Okay.
Yeah, I just finished a course. So there's a free portion of the course too, if they want to, get some resources for their kids. So there's a lot. Everything's under Dr. Carla Caturia. If you go to my social media, and then there's links there for everything. Yeah.
I will link those all below and your social media pages so that people can find you and they can message you if they have any questions.
Fair enough. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you. It was a pleasure.
I had a great time. Thank you.
Good.